Nushrratt, thank you so much for joining me on Bollywood from Sri
Hi,
Lanka. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm okay. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Can I tell you that
Yes.
uh, when I first saw the trailer a couple of months ago for this film, I said to myself, finally, finally, we have a female voice talking about female issues and global issues, quite frankly, not just female issues. But I saw a comment under the trailer, which I thought was just so apt. It said, finally, a female lead instead of a female playing second fiddle to her own issues. And, and I thought to myself, how apt of an observation.
Yep, I agree with you completely.
Tell
Yeah,
me
it's a
about,
nice start.
yeah, tell me about, this concept of the woman playing second fiddle to her own issues. And now, sort of 2022 comes about, and there have been times where females have sort of taken charge, but the time now where females are owning the narrative.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that shift and how you feel as though you are a part of it given this film.
I think it's very empowering and it's very liberating to be able to stand and say the lines that you want to say out loud for yourself, but are always maybe standing in a corner and crying and somebody else is saying it, because it's like, okay, feel the girl's emotion but hear my voice. Feels the
Yeah.
girl's emotion but remember me as the baton of it. Almost like the girl could not have her own voice, or would not stand a chance to get justice, or not stand a chance to have her own issues solved if it was not supported by another someone.
Right.
uh, so that I think in itself is a great space to be in. And somewhere I have a theory why that shift has happened.
Hmm.
I think now in families, or since a while, I mean, it's not a now thing. It takes a while for these things to start and then see the fruits of it, later. I think we've come in that,
Right.
oh, we're reaping the fruits of things people started years back, which is simple things like, girls saying that I'll study, but I don't want to just get married. I want to, like, do a job and rise up the ladder. I want to be the CEO of my own company, or I want to start my own startup, or I want to own jet planes, or I
Right.
want to fly a plane. I want to be a pilot, or anything. Girls just became the forefront of their own lives. They became the breadwinners of the family, where I'm the only child and I'm running my own house. So, which I don't think when I was born my parents ever thought would be the case, right?
Hmm.
But because that shift has happened in society and women have taken that part, not only, okay, I've actually, we've, while shooting Janhit, we've, as an influencer deal, we've gone and spoken to certain women who were married, they got divorced or they left their husband and they just started their own business. There is
Right.
a lady who is auto rickshaw driver. She's a female auto rickshaw driver in Bombay. And then there's a lady who's filling fuel at a petrol pump, or running her father's pan ki dukan.
Hmm.
She's sitting on the pan ki dukan herself and running it. So these things were not heard of and seen of before. And each of those ladies that we spoke to said the same thing. What do we do? We've had failed marriages, or our husbands have died, or
Right.
our fathers have passed away. What do we do? Should we sit at home and cry? Should we wonder where the food is going to come on, like the next meal? When do we get our next meal? Who's going to
Right.
pay for bills? Who's going to put our kids to school or education? Who's going to run the house? So they just gave up everything. People said, hi, how can you be a girl and ride an auto rickshaw? You know what? I don't care. I pay my bills.
Hmm.
You don't get to tell me what to do and how to live my life. It's a respectable
Hmm.
job. I'm doing it. So it's because women started taking, I think, their lives and their uh, futures, or their in their own hands, is when
Right.
you see this shift in people around them accepting it. Today,
Hmm.
I feel like when a father says, oh, my daughter did that, that same father wants to go to a theater and watch the story of a Manokamna Tripathi in a Janhit Mein Jaari. Then
Right.
how does
Right.
this girl come to the forefront and fight for this issue and do it. And I believe her, because at home, my own daughter has done the unthinkable.
Right.
My own daughter has achieved something which we never thought a time and space would come for a woman to achieve. So because they've seen that reality in their own lives and in their own households, is why these films are now better received and are, I guess, the talk and need of the hour. I guess that's why women have that empowerment in cinema and stories. So, yeah.
And picking up from what you just said, you know, you talk to different women who started their own business, the woman who is driving an auto rickshaw in Bombay. You talk about these women, and on the face of it, these don't seem like extraordinary feats, right? On the face of it. And yet, these women owning their own narratives are exemplary. Yeah. But I find that, you know, I will be driving by somebody who will be in a uniform for a fast food restaurant, and it'll be an older woman. And I think to myself, my goodness, she's working hard. She's a superwoman. Can you tell me about the acceptance and the recognition that us as a society need to make of women, and I mean men, of course, as well, but women who are doing these jobs, and they look like they're very ordinary type of jobs, but they're really extraordinary in the type of statement that they're making. Can you tell me a little bit about that, and what role you believe that recognition has provided to cinema, or is it cinema first and societal recognition after? Chicken and egg, maybe.
I'm just going to change the word from recognition to normalcy, because I think that's where India is right now. Maybe on a larger global scale, that needs that recognition and appreciation. But here we are at a very nascent stage. Here we need to normalize it. We need so the area in which the girl is going to be living, her neighbors, her friends, her work colleagues, they need to make what she's doing normal. They cannot make it difficult for her to get out of the house every day and do that job. They cannot make it difficult for her in the workplace where she comes and they look at her and say, "Ek ladki thodi na aisa kar sakti hai." That I think needs to change. And the minute you give that woman that normalcy, that, you know what, you're that's fine, you can do this, that's absolutely okay. It's not this job is not a gender-based job. It's a job. It doesn't have a female or male thrilling pulling attached to it. And the fact that you're doing it, and maybe you'll be better than a man at this, never knowing, right? That normalcy, I think, needs to come in here. Once it's normal, you will see how high a woman who's really invested in it and who's really like passionate about it will reach. And when she reaches those heights, that's when they become stories for people to tell to future generations. That's my thought on it. Yeah.
That's a lovely thought. Can I ask you this? And I know you're probably pressed for time, so I'll make this my last question. How important is it? I mean, I watched the trailer and I'm so looking forward to this movie to obviously be available to me digitally on Z5. But the thing that really struck me is the infusion of comedy and the infusion of that comic timing, that comic relief when we're talking about something so heavy. You know, I'm looking at this trailer, you start talking about abortion, illegal abortions, access to abortions, healthcare, women healthcare, and then it ends off with, you know, something about "Maine kaha tha do chai ke liye," something like that. And, you know, it all of a sudden it's escalated. I'm like, oh my goodness, that's so important. And then I end off with a smile. How important was the comic relief and the comedic element in delivering what is really a universally important message?
You know, I feel like when cinema has the power to impact people that strongly, I think we should utilize that, and I think we should monetize that from the point of view of enriching the society. I don't mean monetizing it in terms of money. Now, I did a film, a previous film, which used a different emotion, but to tell a very important topic as well. We used horror. We scared people into into realizing the repercussions of their actions. That emotion worked because of that certain topic and taboo. With Janhit, the topic and the taboo was so sensitive. It could have easily become like a slapstick comedy
Right.
or a sexual comedy. It could have just been objectified, and having a leading girl in the center of it, furthermore objectification. So I think the need to make this slightly more light, like just to tickle that bone of yours, into like making you smile or crack up, makes the hardest things easier to accept. You kind of win your audience over, and then you tell them the facts of our society. Then you tell them the facts of abortions, illegal abortions, and deaths, and things that go wrong, which all of that you can just save by just being protected, which is, I think, a no-brainer. There's another very interesting thought in the film which she says, and when that was written, I said, oh my God, I have never thought like this. So I genuinely feel like I'm also not enriched. I should be thinking like this, and I'm not. The girl said, when you drive a car, you wear a seatbelt. When you're on a
Right.
bike, you wear a helmet. When you're playing cricket, you wear an L guard. Or now, in the time of a pandemic, you wear gloves and masks. All of these things are not for pleasure. All of these things are for your protection. So when I say condom, can you please not think of sex?
Ah.
When I say condom, can you please think of protection?